Welcome back. It's mid-November, and as you can see, the boat's on the hard. So I've come down here with two main goals. One is to replace the Thruhulls, which I've been talking about, and then the other one is to cover it up, put the tarp up, and do the final work for winter. So to give you just a rough idea, the Thruhulls that I'll be working on today. Right here, that is for the toilet, which is no longer in use, so I'm going to totally remove that and glass over that hole. Right over there, that is for the engine intake, so that's coming out, and I'll be replacing that with a new one. And then this one over here is for the air conditioning intake. And the same thing, that'll be coming out and it'll be replaced with a new one. Well, I didn't film this part, but I was able to get the one through hole off pretty easily. It unscrewed. This is for the air conditioning intake, and that came off from down here. So I'm going to get this wrench on here and see if this nut comes off. I had to heat this up on the outside and chip away a little bit of the grout around it. It's turning, but here's the next one. This is the engine intake. So I got to take the hose off first, then take this valve off here, and I'll see how easy this one comes off. third one out. That's the waste dump. So all the through holes are out. Take a break, and then I'm going to start epoxying this one shut, and then I'll start epoxying the base plate to these other two. Good morning. Well, it's another day, second day, and today I'm going to check on the epoxy and the fiberglassing to make sure it's cured overnight. We did get a little bit rain late in the night, but I'm sure the epoxy was almost cured by then. And then today I'm going to be covering up the boat, and I won't be filming that. I do the same thing every year. You can go back a year and see what I did last year. But just checking on the fiberglass, and if it is cured, I'll be test fitting the seacocks and also the through holes, threading them in. If I have to remount some of the ooze from the epoxy, I'll do that this morning as well. Okay, stay tuned. Okay, here's the waste dump, and that is all cured. I have some underwater epoxy putty there's like a divot right here. I'm going to fill that in and finish that off. And then over here on the engine intake, I took a piece of it's like a nylon or Teflon, I forget what it is, but I put that in here to keep the base plate centered on the inside, and I may have to put a pipe wrench on this to pull it out. It looks like it's stuck a little bit, but hopefully that'll come right out. There's a little bit of a concave surface here, so I'll probably just get some putty and fill that in as well. And then finally, over here on the air conditioning, this is well centered. I may have to drill this out with a hole saw a little bit, but this is even more concave. The original through hull was one of these flush mount type, so I'm going to have to fill that in with some putty, or I might actually put some fiberglass over that once I ream this out and make sure that the through hull fits in there. Yeah, I may fill that in with a little bit of fiberglass. All this is just a test fit before I put any putty on. Just want to make sure everything fits, just like now. It's not threading in. There's still a gap there. I'd say about a 1/4 inch gap. So I'm going to actually have to take these through hulls home and machine off some of this threaded portion, and then hopefully fix the thread so it threads back in again. This is it's also too tight. So I will cover up the boat today, and I'll come back in the spring and I can finish this up. I was in the middle of laying up this fiberglass on this engine intake hole, and my battery died. So, but I finished it off, and like I said, or maybe it didn't record, but in the spring I'll come back and I'll sand it down. I'll re-drill through this outer layer that I put in, and then I'll bed the through hull and seacock in the spring. But at least all the fiberglassing is done now, long before spring, so I don't have to worry about a time factor when I go to launch. This is the air conditioning water intake, and I did the same thing. This had quite a big divot in it, so I layered up some fiberglass there. I have to cut some threads off of the through hull. I test fit them with the seacocks in place, and they bottom out about a 1/4 inch too short. So I have to take the through hulls home and machine off about a 1/4 inch, and then in the spring I'll come back and I'll bed them down with 5200. Well, that's it for the season of 2017.
Boat's all covered up. The through holes have been fiberglassed, and I'll finish that up in the spring. Won't be a big deal. So I got some more projects for this winter. I'm going to be working on a new Dodger. So I'm taking a Dodger frame home. I took the old Dodger home, and I'll be sewing up a new one for that. And as far as next year, I still have all the water hoses to finish. So that'll keep me busy in the spring, or if we have some warm days in the winter, maybe I'll come down and do a little work if I get a little cabin fever back at home. In the future, I do have some other above the waterline through holes I would like to get to. I don't see them as real dangerous, only because they are above the waterline, but for the future, that's a project I'll be considering. But I'll see you next time with the next project. You have a nice winter.